A couple of council members talked about the issue of driver both pay and working conditions. I just, how do you see I guess in particular the working conditions issue, how does that fit into your understanding as sort of a priority for the responsibility of the TLC?
I start from the point of view that the agency wants long-term drivers. They're good for everybody, and long-term drivers means that they have to have a good working environment, so they want to stay, and that they can make enough money so that they can sustain themselves and their families. So the agency probably knows very little about the actual working conditions of drivers, because you get complaints here and there, but you don't have, that community doesn't have the voice that some other industry segments have. So their issues with working conditions just simply are not brought to the attention of the TLC. I would encourage that individual drivers do that, and the more cohesive that group can be to present issues to the agency, the better off the agency could be as a regulator.
I appreciate hearing that. I know we'll hear probably, from some drivers, perhaps the Taxi Workers Alliance a little later. One thing that they called to my attention is this healthcare and disability fund that was established, the agency promulgated rules for, and that drivers have been paying into since October 1st, but that doesn't exist yet. Can you give me a status update on that and when it will?
My understanding is the Healthcare and Disability Fund, which I view as part of an overall campaign to professionalize drivers, including education and police cap enforcement. But the contract between the city and the chosen fund administrator is with the law department now. The next step would be sending it to the controller's office to be registered, and then a notice to proceed would issue, and the daily workings of the operation would begin. My understanding is the law department has some pending litigation concerns, which they expect to be resolved not in the not too distant future, and when they are resolved would go to the next step, which is sending the contract to the controller's office.
Let me just ask a little more about that, because with litigation, sometimes the not too distant future can become a distant future.
Yes, it's always longer than you think.
Is it your understanding that litigation, if not settled in the not too distant future, would prevent the TLC from moving forward to set up the fund?
That's a decision that the law department would have to make, because the TLC can't move forward until the contract is registered, and the law department has to feel comfortable with moving to the next step. So I would, obviously, like I prefaced it, I think it's part of an overall campaign to make being a driver a better experience. So I would work with the law department and advocate for making sure that we can move the process along. But that's something that has to be in conjunction with council.
And you were general counsel when the rules were promulgated and the contract was drafted.
Yes.
So you were comfortable in your role as general counsel with how this moved forward and see it as a priority to get it established.
Yes.
And in the meantime, they're continuing to pay into the fund.
Yes.
And the fund is continuing.
The fund is growing. It will have assets. And I mean, the upside is that once there is a notice to proceed, the fund will have money to get started right away, rather than a lag time as funds build up.
That is good. The downside, obviously, is the drivers are paying into a fund and they don't have the health and disability benefits. So we're eager to get that established.